Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional. Like, so professional. Here we go. Well, welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele, VanDusen, and June Colson. A couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause. Welcome to the award-winning Laugh Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, aka June Bug, here with my best friend Michele with one L, Trisha's sister, and Rhonda Colson Corey comedy best friend, well, after me, of course.
Well,
Michele VanDusen. Hello, Michele.
We're best friends at the same time. It's not like after
okay.
you. It's just she'll see you first because you're head and shoulders taller than everyone else. Like the whole crowd, you'll be like, "Oh, I see Rhonda," and then you just like drag me along. Like, "Come on, Michele, let's go." So
this is true. So it's not like elementary school playground best friends where you can only have one bestie, and that's it. Or I'm not like removed from your birthday party list or anything.
No, my birthday is coming up, so you're on the list. You're the only one on the list, so make it good.
True. This is true. This is true. How old will you be, Michele?
Oh, I don't know,
Michele.
That requires math. It's 50 something. I don't know, 4 or 5. I don't know.
57. Isn't that weird how you do get to an age where you honestly have to think for a minute how old you are? It's like you turn 16, that's super exciting. You turn 18, that's super exciting. You turn 21, that's super exciting. And then 30, and then 40. And then it's like, why are we discussing it anymore? It's not so much fun. No, I'm not. Listen, I'll tell you how old I am. I'm 47 years old. And I am not one of those people who are like, oh, don't ask me my age. Like, because literally, I truly am like, if God gave me another year, I'm going to give him glory for it, right? 47 years growing up the way I did with my daddy and my mama and the cars we drove or pushed or jacked up to, fix or whatever. Yeah, I survived. Okay, let's talk really quick, Michele. I want to talk really quick about your super fun scavenger hunt you had in your office this morning.
Oh no. Yay. So I don't know if anybody's following my Instagram. So I have a kitten in my house right now. And which is so funny because yesterday because it's my son's kitten and we're just waiting for it to get old enough so he can go to college with him. And so my son even asked me yesterday, he's not too much trouble, is he? I'm like, no, he's fine. It's fine. Mr. Fox is doing fine. No worries. Because I'll send him like a little video of him purring or where he's sleeping. Like he was laying on Ross's legs yesterday. Well, he had his one paw on Ross's leg. Ross was napping. The cat was napping. It was just adorable, right? Because it's a little baby kitten. Anyway, I closed my office door at night. Well, apparently he was still in the office because he tucks and hides. So he was kind of trapped in my office for the evening. Yeah, what a surprise that was this morning. It's like, whoo, oh, where was the kitten? So I have half my items are in the hallway. I did end up finding what I think is the only pile that he left. He didn't mean to. It was, if I would have actually gotten out of bed at 5 when I woke up this morning, I would have heard him and he would have been fine, because he tries not to mess anywhere but in his box. So I don't know.
Yes. Well, sorry if I look distracted. Speaking of my family, my sister's like, emergency. Wait, not an emergency. Okay. Somebody called me. Never mind. It wasn't them. Okay. Can you check? I'm like, am I panicking right now or am I not, Bobby Joe? What is happening here? Okay.
Well,
so
Bobby Joe's going to have to wait.
Yes, it looks like it was a butt dial, so she distracted me for no reason. It's all good.
Uh,
It's all good.
A
Well, listen,
backside posterior dial. Fantastic.
yes, yes. So with your sweet little
Yeah.
kitty cat, it was making me
Mhm.
think like my husband can never watch this episode of Laugh Support because I don't know how I did it, but I used to
What?
get up with our dog at 5 o'clock in the morning
Mm.
and I would take our dog out, right? I would
Yeah.
get up, I would take our dog out. My
Yeah.
husband has a real job schedule. I don't. I should get up at 5 a.m. and take the dog out, right?
Uh-huh. Yes.
But
Yes, you
at some point, I lay there and pretended I didn't hear the dog, and he got up.
should.
And then
Wait,
the
your
next
husband did.
morning, yes, my husband got up and he let the dog out. And then the next
Nice.
morning, Michelle, I did the same thing. I hear him.
So now
I
you're hearing the dog and your husband both getting up. I
yes,
see, I see
yes.
where this is going.
But I
Mhm.
play possum. I just act like I don't hear. And my husband knows because our dog is so old and he has to get up multiple times. And so I've had this going for a good 2.5 months now.
Wait, what?
I don't know
Wow.
when he's gonna go, wait a minute, why am I getting up and taking the dog out? But I'm riding this wave as long as I possibly can. But okay, here's the thing though. If he has an accident, I'm usually the one that cleans it up. Like I
Yeah.
take care of feeding them and walking them and giving them baths and clipping the toenails. So I mean maybe
Yeah.
it's fair, but probably not. But as long as I can, as long as I can play it off, that's what I'm gonna do. Is that
Yeah,
bad?
wait.
Am I a bad person for that?
No, you're not bad at all. When our dog was getting older, and if she made a mess in the house, which was it felt like every evening, when you get
Mhm.
up in the morning,
Yeah.
Ross wouldn't stop to clean it. He'd come back in the bedroom and he'd say, "Hey, FYI, the dog made a mess.
Yeah.
See you later," because he was going to work. He didn't stop to clean up, which
Yeah.
was fine. But he came back and woke me up. I'm like, I would have noticed at 9 when I got up.
Yes.
That it is like, whoa. So it was good. It was good. Why are we
Well,
talking about this? This is enough. This is
because that
enough.
was just too funny. You were like, so I had to search around this morning,
I
but not for
did.
anything fun. That's the worst scavenger hunt ever. Like, what is
But
the prize? There's
the
no
best
good
thing
prize.
is I have purification from essential oils, and I'm going to just flat out tell you, thank God I do, because that stuff
Yes.
you diffuse it and it actually makes the room smell so much better. It's better than Febreze because like Febreze makes me sneeze and stuff. This
Oh,
was
I
like,
like how that rhymed. I don't know why that gives me joy.
yeah,
Like now
yeah.
I want to write a song for breeze makes me sneeze. It
I
takes
mean,
me to my knees.
vinegar is good too. I mean, I would have used vinegar, but I had the purification right here. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. So that
Mm.
is
Well, vinegar is not
thank
as
you,
fun to write a
Jesus.
song about. So,
No
and since I'm not really getting
vinegar,
paid for
man. Yeah.
songwriting, I think what we should do is talk about our poor guest who's backstage going, what have I said yes to? What is happening?
These are women. Let me mute them.
Well, Michelle, tell us who the amazing guest is on our show today.
Okay, I will just give you some of the highlights. Our guest today is an elite stand up comedian, a TV personality. He's performed nationwide in clubs, corporations, colleges, churches, military bases, festivals, charity events. He's worked with Tim Hawkins, George Lopez, Bob Smiley, Carlos Mencia, Wayne Brady, etc., etc., etc. He's been on several comedy tours, including The Promise Keepers, Canada's Comedy Tour, K Locos Comedy Tour. His TV appearances have included BET Comic View, The Morning Show on Fox, Showtime's Latino Laugh Festival. He's on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora. He has a few specials out on Amazon Prime, Dry Bar Comedy. He even has, catch this, he even has his own special stage event stage in San Antonio, Texas.
Wow.
He could just wake up, go, I'm going to do a show today. This is amazing. Okay, so here's the thing, June.
Yes.
I could go on for hours reading his accolades, like opening for BB King, but I won't. Okay, let me just say this. Yeah, our guest has brought joy and laughter to so many that we are honored to have him here. Let's welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast my favorite amigo, Cleto Rodriguez. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bueno.
Hello, Cleto. Welcome to the Laugh Support Podcast.
Thanks for
How you
having me. I
doing?
appreciate it. I feel like writing a song about Fabuloso. It's
Yes. Yes. If you need my help, let me know.
I
I
know.
play I
That
play
sounded
no
pretty good.
instrument.
Once
Yes.
once it rhymes, you're right there.
Yes. Yes. Well, we're so excited to have you on the Laugh Support podcast. When she said BB King, it brought me back some trauma. So BB King came here with Johnny Lang, who was like one of my favorite music artists. And a friend of mine, I woke up the following morning and a friend of mine messaged me, and they owned like a little venue that was downtown here in my town. And BB King came there after the concert and hung out. It was just this tiny, intimate little space. She had tried to call me like 12 times, and they just hung out. They just got to hang out and have this private little jam session with BB King, and I missed it. I missed the call. Like
That's
it was
trauma. You missed it.
heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking.
I had something like that happen here in town, and it was a buddy of mine. He goes, "Hey, do you want to come with me to this after party deal?" This was years ago, and it was. He goes, the show starts like at 2 in the morning or something like that, and it wound up being at a little nightclub, and it was Prince. Yeah, I was kind of kicking myself. I was like, well, oh, I did sleep well that night. I went to bed early.
Yes. You know when Prince's birthday was?
No.
June 7th.
Nice.
You know when my birthday is? June 7th.
No.
I was gonna
June 7th.
Oh,
I
is
was
it?
gonna marry him. Yeah. I was gonna marry him, but whatever. It's fine. It's fine. He didn't need me. Well, Cleto. So it's a Laugh Support podcast. And I know Michele has known you for a long time, but I'm going to be really just getting to know you today.
I love the shirt.
Yeah. Tell us, Michele, what you're wearing right now.
Oh, it's one of Cleto's shirts. This is
I love it.
special. Is this the one on Amazon? Devil get
That's
the
the
heck
one.
out of here.
That's one on Amazon. Yes.
Yep, very comfortable shirt. Just FYI. And then
Yeah, I met Michele back in the day when I had a full set of hair.
Do you need to borrow some? Because I'm about to cut mine soon.
How long have we known each other now, Michele? It's been a long time now.
Yeah, I do believe the first time was in Dallas when the conference was in Dallas, and then we did a show at the Improv.
Improv,
with,
yeah.
I think it was Al Fike that was
Al Fike, yes.
it. Yep.
With the banjo.
Yes. Yeah. And he was hosting, and I did like my 5 minutes or whatever. It was the most nerve-wracking thing I could possibly think of at the time, but I did it. And my hair was short and like bobbed, but it wasn't bobbed because my hair goes whoop. So it's just, I looked ridiculous. And I was always wearing jeans. What?
Weren't you living in Oklahoma at the time? Or was it Dallas?
Yeah. No,
wow.
Oklahoma. Yeah. I
remember that.
Here. Yeah, it's been a long time. And I have adored you since that day, and continue to. And I remember we spent some time chatting like outside the club, talking about your wife and your life and comedy and things like that. And I thought, wow, this is a really neat man of God and faithful husband. And if I can be as funny as this guy, then I'll probably do something with my life. And then I read part of your accolades. There's like 5 to 15 pages of accolades on his website. I just took a smell. I'm like, wow, you've worked with everybody and then some. Right?
I've been blessed throughout the years and been able to it's so funny. You look back at some of the stuff that you've done and the people you've worked with, and now some of them people are just either not doing stand up or they're just at another level, and they're just like and it's so funny because if I had to make a movie about myself, I'd probably call it Caught in Between. It's like you're right there, but at the same time, I remember I always get like. I'll go on the road and someone will tell me, you're not like, you remind me a lot of Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias. And I said, well, we were good friends. We started doing stand up together. And it's always the same thing, like, oh, what happened to you? And I'm like, well, we made different choices in life. He went this way and made millions. I went this way and made babies. So, that's kind of the deal. So I wanted to do stand up. Is what I love to do, but I also I knew I wanted a family, and I wanted to, really that was one of the things that I had, pretty much on my life bucket list, if you will. And matter of fact, today my daughter turns 21 years old. My baby girl turns 21 years
Aw.
old. So that's gonna be it's a big milestone, in her life, and then mine. I'm just trying to. I mean, I still see her as the little girl here, and
Mhm.
it's kind of a hard one today. So,
Oh,
but
I bet.
sometimes you just gotta you gotta go with the punches.
Before we got started, I saw the balloons in the back, the big 2-1 balloon, the shiny
Oh
balloons in
yeah,
the back of the room, and I was like, "Oh, somebody's had one or having a birthday." So
yep, it's
that's
today.
that's super cool. That's a big transition too, is when your kids hit those ages. I have a 19-year-old and a 23-year-old who's now working in Nashville, an accounting firm, and all this stuff. And it's you gotta treat them like men now, and
Yeah.
it's hard not to be the mom and do those kind of things. So yeah, we definitely Michelle with her 4 boys, we've had lots of phases and transitions. So we definitely feel that. Well, Cleto,
Most definitely.
we want to talk about let's go back to kind of the beginning. You said, Fluffy was somebody that you started with, Gabriel, and so you have had, you've had a big journey in comedy. So we'll start kind of at the, beginning phases. As you got started, is there somebody who comes to mind to you that maybe was a person of laugh support to you that helped you along the way?
Um, actually, uh, my mentor when I first started doing stand up, and to give you a little bit of my background on that was, I grew up with Pryor, watching Pryor and Eddie Murphy and all these comedians and George Carlin and so on. And I started out as a dirty, filthy, pretty much comedian, and my whole life changed after I met my wife, who was a Christian woman, and she wasn't having any of that. So I had a I
Hmm.
quit comedy for a few months, and but when I first started doing stand up, one of the guys that I met was this guy Rick Gutierrez right here out of San Antonio, and he's actually on tour with Gabriel Iglesias, and he's been on tour with him for a long time now. And he writes for him, and he even produced his first special on Netflix. And he was my mentor. And then when I gave my life to Christ and kind of stopped comedy for a while, took some time off from comedy just to get right with God, and he didn't understand that and just kind of cut ties, and
Hmm.
which was sad, but I guess I got it. But later on, there was hello, are you there?
You're sideways. Yeah, we're
We
here.
are. You flipped
There you
sideways
are.
on us for a moment. Oh,
Oh,
we lost him for a second. Well,
he'll
speaking
be
of
back in
cutting
just a minute.
Michelle, speaking of cutting ties,
What
Cleto's
a
a
great
very
transition.
he's a literal person, right? What is happening? He said, so for those who can't see, so Cleto was telling us about, one of his first laugh supports, and then he flipped sideways and disappeared. I said, Cleto, you are so literal. You spoke of cutting ties and then you walked away. You just disappeared on us. But that's okay. He's back. He's back.
Did I mention my wife's very little, and I'm so used to it. Um, so yeah, so I wind up wanting to. I quit comedy for a while, and I was just realizing, what am I going to do now? Because this was literally in the middle of my prime of doing stand up. I was very young. I was up and coming. I was getting found myself getting funnier. I felt myself getting funnier and funnier, and
Mm,
writing more, and just a student of the art, if you will. And then when I met my wife and decided that God was the biggest thing now, that was the most important thing for me, and having that relationship meant more than headlining or standing O or whatever
mhm,
that I was striving for at the time. And when I wind up, one day, I was out of stand up for a few months, several months actually, and my wife, it's kind of like the Holy Spirit kind of spoke to her and said, you need to go show what you need to go show everybody what God's doing in your life and how He's blessing you. And
mm,
the only thing is, now you got to do it His way, which is clean. And
mhm,
that's all I needed to hear. Then I became a student of clean stand up, and then I started watching guys like Bob Hope, Bill Cosby. What's the other one that I really followed a lot was Red Skelton. I liked, although I still liked Rodney Dangerfield's delivery. That was my favorite comedian of all time.
No
Hey, get no
respect.
respect, and oh, hey, you know,
Yes.
my house is on fire. I heard my wife tell my kids, Shh, you wake your dad. Hey. So, I mean, it's just I just loved it, and but I realized that doing stand up, when I came back and decided to do it clean, I didn't know how the response was going to be, and
Mm,
I remember when I everybody saw that I was a different person now at the comedy club, but they saw that I was getting blessed because I remember one time this guy goes, and this is when I realized my ministry in the comedy world was he comes up to me, he goes, "Hey man, how you getting all these shows and you're getting booked and you're getting this your own sitcom and you're getting this and getting that and how you doing this?" And I go, "Oh, you might have heard, my manager got it for me. You might have heard of him. He walked on water." And
uh,
he goes, "Oh," and then he says this, "You live in Houston?" And that's when I realized that the whole scripture about the work is plenty and the workers are few,
yes.
and I was just kind of like, all right, now I know what the ministry is and where I need to be. And sure enough, from that moment on, and the more I kept educating myself in the word and getting familiar with the word and my relationship growing, I found myself ministering to waiters at the Funny Bone in the parking lot,
Mm,
Wow.
just different comedians you know, that today you see them and they're like, wow, I never guessed that they actually knew of Christ. Well, they do now. But,
mm,
the decision after that is theirs. And, but for the most part, for me, it was just, Rick was one of those guys that took me under his wing, kind of showed me what it was to be a comedian.
mm,
And then I got to, know other comedians. And I remember when I first came and threw my hat in the Christian faith, I'm in the Christian world of comedy. I remember the first one I met was Al Fike, and I remember one of my first gigs when he booked me for was at the Addison Improv, and I remember just doing a bunch of church jokes, which
mhm.
was the worst thing I could have done because I bombed so bad. Oh my goodness, it was like, yeah, Mark, Paul, and John walking to a bar, right? And no, it's just so it was just so bad, and so I bombed so bad, and I remember I had my stepson with me and my kid, and I just kind of like, oh, this is really bad,
Yes.
this is my dad. He was like, oh, he stinks, But then I remember I got to meet another comedian. I don't know if he's as famous anymore. A guy named Bob Smiley.
Yes.
Um,
Oh,
We
I don't
he's
just
a little
know him.
bit.
interviewed Bob a couple episodes ago. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
that guy. Yeah. He's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
bad.
that guy here. I think. I mean, I think he just got out of prison. I'm not sure.
Maybe, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe,
We
but
love Bob.
no, that Bob's like a brother to me, and he he was one of those guys that kind of really took me under the wing, and I met him at the a couple of church events, and then I met him. We got to know each other really well as we bunked together at the CCA
Mm,
Veterans um, Conference, and that's where I met guys like Leland and Prater, Tim Hawkins, Mike Williams, all the vets, pretty much.
Again,
All
never
the
heard of any of those guys. I'm not sure if they're still doing
June. Let me tell you right now,
comedy.
you're not missing much at all. At all. These guys they were a little overhyped back then.
Maybe, maybe, maybe.
Especially Prater. That
Yeah.
one there. He took the cake. And
They're big deals.
no,
They're all big deals. You can ask them. They'll tell you. They'll tell you, Cleto. They're
yeah. I
truthful.
mean, I got to know, and then along the way, I got to know different comedians. I got to know Jason Earls, Bone
Mm,
Hampton.
yeah.
Who is the other one that I got? Uh, I got Johnny W. I got to work with him, and that one there just blew me away. I remember I used to call him Tim Hawkins Light, and
Yeah.
Yes.
and then
Yeah, that's
and
a
then
good.
and me and Leland used to. I remember we did a K Love cruise, and all the guys were on there, but they had like all guys that played guitar like Mike Williams, and then they had Bean and Bailey and David, and I forgot the other guy's name, and then
David and
David
Brian.
Dean, David Bryan, yeah, and
Yeah.
they were there, and Mike Williams, and all these guitar acts, Tim Hawkins. And I remember we couldn't go eat until they were done with their sound check. And I remember me and Leland were like, we called them, they were like novelty acts. So we go, hey, Knobs, why can't y'all write real jokes like real comedians? You know, now we have to wait for y'all to go eat. And then Mike Williams, I'll never forget what he said. He's strumming his guitar and he goes, hey, guys, y'all hear that? You know what that is? That's the sound of poverty. That's right. And he wasn't lying. He was not lying. I mean, if you had a guitar, if you had a song, I mean, these guys were blowing up. Their calendars were full. And me and Leela are like, when are we going to get a gig? Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me? This is crazy. So, but yeah, I was I met a lot of great, and then of course, Michelle and everybody else down the way. It's just, and then I got to go to the CCAs and meet some other comedians, and I mean, some they were just see the different styles of stand up was interesting, of clean comedy, and a lot of people had a stigma that clean was just, you know, hokey dokey stuff, and I think
Yeah.
the CCA kind of made it brought out a lot. I remember when I met Nazareth, and he really was showing me that what I remember him telling me that people just want clean humor. They want clean, fun humor that they're not gonna cringe about, but relatable. And if you could find that, you can make sure you'll be a hit in this business. I remember at the CCA convention, the veterans one, Mike Williams had said that I was the edgiest Christian comic. And I remember because I had a breastfeeding joke that I did. And he goes, yeah, I don't know how you get away with that and sell merch afterwards. I don't know how you got away with that. And then
It's funny.
and then someone had told me that it's so much it's a real thing, and a lot of folks are just they want realism, but in the point of not bad taste. And the fact that I was somewhat likable, I guess, because I was chubby, I guess, I don't know, but it was what it was, and I mean, and for me, it was like I would be up on stage debating at different churches if I'm going to do this joke or not, because you can feel the crowd, and if they're with you, they're with you. If they're not, you don't want to turn them against you either. So
Right.
you just kind of think twice about certain areas and certain things, but being able to do. And then I remember a lot of comedians would like, you're gonna wind up doing that joke. Like they requested, like I was a mariachi or something, and I said, "Oh, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it for you." And, but yeah, I remember the first tour that I went on was with Ken Kington and Tim Hawkins and Bob Smiley, and that was pretty cool. Did a few dates with them, and learned a lot. Actually, I learned a lot. And but yeah, I mean, I would have to say a lot of there's so many that played a role in where I'm at today. That instilled that comedy wisdom, and you when I had two compliments in my life that stood out to me as far as being a clean comedian. And I remember when I first started doing stand up, I mean clean comedy. I was at the comedy club, and that matinee, I have a matinee at 3 o'clock, and then on the Saturday, and you got to bark to get people in the come on in,
Oh, yeah,
free comedy, and you're just trying to get a crowd, right, just to listen to your material. And we have an Air Force base here, so we got a lot of people from Lackland Air Force Base and their families to come sit in. So I remember I was the only clean one there, and everybody else was dirty. And I remember after the show, we stand there at the door and we're shaking everybody's hand, and one lady, this little short Jewish lady, comes up to me, grabs me by the neck, by the shirt, and pulls me down and says, I want to say thank you for being clean for me. I ain't like these other dirty guys, but you, I like you. Thank you for being clean for me. So when I heard that, that made me feel pretty good and realized that there's an audience out there
Yeah.
that wants that. And then my second one was I got a chance to do a thing at this Hispanic State Fair here in San Antonio, and I was the headliner, and I had all my friends in front of me, and all of them were dirty, and they did their stuff, and I wind up doing mine clean. And not only that, but I got a standing ovation and I got an applause
Wow.
break for thanking God on stage, which was
Mm.
really cool. And I remember going to my merch table, and this drunk Mexican guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey man, I've been waiting for you to say a bad word, eh?" I'm like, but did you laugh? Oh, I almost peed in my pants. Yeah, you're so funny. I'm like, well, then I did my job, you know?
Yeah.
And that was the second, those two compliments stood out to me, realizing that even to this day, the same act I do at a church is the same one I'll do at a bar. And then I'll
Mhm.
do these bar gigs or club gigs just to stay sharp. That's it.
Yeah. I love
Because the
that
money's not great, let me tell you.
well, I love that she said, "Thank you for being clean for me."
Yeah,
For
that was
me.
awesome.
That's a whole different way to word it, I mean, she truly felt like that this was for her, and it was, God knew she was gonna be sitting in that audience,
Yep.
and there are those are the people he's sending us out for, to be that light in the darkness and to come in. And I think that's the best part is when you do work clean and you're with other comics that aren't, and you hold your own. It's just proof that
Yeah.
he calls you to it. You can definitely do it, and you can do it clean. But you do have to. I feel like you do have to work hard, really hard, and you have to up the game better than everybody else who's working dirty. You can't be lazy about it because people already have an expectation that you're clean, so you're not going to be funny.
Well, it's funny you say that because I had a friend of mine that worked at the comedy club, and I went to the comedy club one night, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, "When are you gonna work a real crowd?" And I said, "Excuse me?" He
Mm.
goes, "Yeah, you're doing all these churches. When are you gonna do a real crowd?" Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's switch. Give me your 400 sold out crowd here, and that are drunk and drunk up the rear end, and then I'll perform for them. That'll laugh at anything I say. And then you come to my church over here with
Uh-huh.
800 people sober, just judging every word that comes out of your mouth,
Mm.
and go. He was
Yes.
like, I was like, yeah, okay. Trust me, you gotta. I mean, I have fun where I'm doing it. They appreciate what I'm doing, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna appreciate anybody that goes up there on that
Yes.
stage. So, I mean, I try to keep it as real as possible with him, but at the same time, he's the same one that asked me did he live in Houston? So I kind of take it for
Mm.
what it's worth.
Yes. Yes. So, Cleto, did you ever have a time in this journey? Because it sounds like when you had somebody there with you alongside you, helping you write, doing all of that stuff when you were not a clean comic, and when you were, when you were going one direction, and then when God shifted gears and turned you a different direction, it sounds like, I mean, obviously, all the names that you've listed, many of them, Michele and I have interviewed on this show. Leland and Bob and all of those guys. Like he gave you the best of the best around you, during that time. But have you ever had a moment during?
Please tell me that y'all are doing this by alphabetical order and you just got to the R's. Because if you put Bob and Leland before me, oh my goodness.
Well, no. So what we did is we it was new. It was new to us. Michele and I had no idea what we were doing, so we wanted to practice on in the minor leagues, and now that's what we have
I
jumped.
love it.
Yeah.
This
You're
is why
good,
we're here.
Gene. Gene's good. I like that.
She's very good.
Gene's
She's
good.
very good. Yeah, I was gonna be like, we're doing the alphabet backwards. Cleto was a C. What do you mean the R's?
Yes, yeah.
Bob Smiley made me laugh the other day so hard because I just had eye surgery last Wednesday.
Yes.
So I can't see out of this eye over here. Where was it? Right here. This one. And
Can you see
it's
me
my
now?
left eye, and it's like, I can see with this eye. Yeah, hey, how you doing, guys? I'm looking at it with this eye. I can see with this eye, but I see like a bubble over here with this eye.
Uh-huh.
So, Bob, I posted a picture of my patch, and I had posted on social media, and all I put was caption this, and then Bob says, you really are amazing. You would do anything for TikTok followers, anything.
Well, I feel like I want to apologize. I feel like I want to apologize because Cleto, his eye, all of that happened right after I asked him if he would come and speak at the CCA retreat. And so here's the deal, Pickle. Okay, here's the deal, Pickle. Cleto, the theme this year is focus. And then I look and you have an eye patch on, and I'm like, I don't know him well enough to go there. But the illustration, I was like,
I would love to speak. I would love to speak with a patch on my eye. As a matter of fact, 2 patches on my eye. I think that would be ideal. No, I think it's just funny. Yeah. So I had the surgery last Wednesday, and it's supposed to. That's like a gas bubble that's supposed to dissolve in 2 weeks. I got another week before that happens. But yeah, everything to me these days is bread and butter. I mean, I have a whole new perspective on life. This time last year, I was actually fighting for my life with a COVID episode that
Remember that.
almost. I mean, you're looking at a walking miracle according to the doctors. I had COVID pneumonia. I was in ICU for 2.5 weeks, in the hospital
Prayed a
for
lot for
about
you.
2-3 months, and 2 months, and then the I was recovering for several months after that, at home, and wasn't able to get cleared to perform until November, and that's when I got a chance to reunite with a lot of folks, and did a gig up in Kentucky and then Fresno, California, and just getting back on the route, getting back on that horse, really. And so yeah, it's everything now is just, I take it with a grain of salt. And I mean, and the lesson for me, someone asked me, what would you think the lesson is?
Mm.
And I said, for me, it was I did a lot of complaining before that COVID deal, a lot. I mean, to the point of like where I was as a dad, as a husband, and where I wasn't in my career. How come I wasn't at this level over here where I was trying to get to, and blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, I just when he stops you like that and you're about, I mean, you want to test your faith, you want to really test your walk. I mean, you go through that little ordeal because when you can meet your maker any minute, and you have no clue, and it's so unpredictable. It scares you. I mean, I know fear is not of God, but I had that was the scariest time in my life.
Yeah.
And on paper, I was a Christian, but I tell you what, I didn't realize how far off I was. And seeing where I was in that season, I can understand it. I can definitely see it. And it was I almost think it was almost his way of getting back. And I don't think I shared this before, but how much time do we have? We're good?
All the time you need, my
Okay.
friend. Yeah.
We had, I remember I was so freaked out and so scared that people were they had me in ICU, and people were just, I kid you not, they were passing away just left and right. And it scared me at once. And then I heard a couple of people crying in the hallway, and I asked the nurse, what's going on? They said, oh, someone just passed away from COVID. And I said, oh, wow. And I said, and I had this airflow mask on, and I asked, the nurses are so immune to what's going to go on, and what's going to happen. And they're so immune to the deaths that happen there. They have to be, they don't mean to sound heartless, but I asked, what are the chances of me getting out of here? With my airflow mask on, what are the chances of me getting out of here? And they're like, and the kid, the guy just goes, about 50-50 maybe. I don't know. You want some more blankets? I'm like, no, I want a banana split. If I'm gonna go out, let's go out big. You know what I'm saying? And sure enough, after I heard that, I did not sleep for 2 days straight because I was afraid I wouldn't wake up. And I mean, I'm literally so fatigued. I had so much junk in my chest and in my lungs that it looked like a cloudy day. There was no black on the X-ray at all.
Yeah.
And my wife, I was already giving her hey, tell the kids I love them and I'll be with them no matter what, and giving her that speech. And she's like, no, don't talk like that. That's not faith. And I'm like, babe, I could barely breathe. I could barely move. My eyes burn. I'm about to fall asleep. I'm telling God, Lord, if you're going to take me, let's do it now. I can't go no more. And sure enough, uh, I mean, I literally forgot that I was a comedian. Like none of that mattered. None
Yeah.
of that mattered. And it was just about getting home. It was about just finding my air to breathe. And it looked bleak. I'll be honest, it really
Mhm.
did. And I didn't know I didn't know how I was going to get out of that. And I remember finding myself in like a whirlwind, if you will,
Mhm.
and leaning on man and everything like science and all this kind of stuff that I just felt,
Yeah.
wait a minute, something's not right here.
Yeah.
Something's not right here. And I took a step back and I'll never forget, it was 2 o'clock in the morning and I was watching the Olympics and I'm by myself in my room and I have my airflow mask on and I'm trying to breathe and I'm so uncomfortable and fatigued. I remember I was watching that show, The Chosen,
Mhm.
and one of the scenes was when Jesus, excuse me, was with the paralyzed man by the pool, and he
Mm.
asked him, "Do you want to get well? Do you want to get healed?" And he's like, yeah, he's giving him all these excuses, like, sir, they don't have nobody to put me in the pool, and they keep jumping
Yeah.
and kicking me and all this stuff. He goes, "It's not what I asked. I asked, do you want to get healed? Do you want to get well? Because what I have is better than that pool." And he's still giving him excuses, and he goes, "Do you want to get healed or not?" And he goes, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "Then pick up your mat and walk." I remember hearing that, seeing that vision in my head, and then I heard this as I'm speaking to you. It's gonna sound crazy, but I heard, "Do you want to get well? Do you
Yes.
want to get healed?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
I kid you not, I'm like, I got up, I go, "Who's here? Who's here?" You know, I,
Yes.
I, I,
Yes.
I, I felt like I was losing it. I really, because COVID
Mm.
plays with your
Mhm.
head so
Yes.
Yeah.
bad, and I thought I was losing. And I go, "Who's here?" And then it was nobody, and I'm like, I stopped and I hear it again. I said, "Lord, is this you?" And then right then, I hear, "Do you want to get well? Do you want to
Yeah.
get healed?" And now I'm giving him excuses. They told me 50-50, Lord, I'm not going to be able to get healed. Like, he's
Yes.
like, "It's not what I asked. I asked, do you want to get healed? Do you want to get well?" As soon as I said yes, I kid you not, I fell right to sleep. And I didn't wake up till the next day at 4:30 in the afternoon. And it's not because I woke up. They woke me up because they thought I was dead because they were
Mm.
taking my blood and I wasn't even flinching
Mm.
and I
Mm.
wasn't even
Wow.
moving. And I was the most peaceful sleep I ever had. And I woke up with this sudden urge to fight, this strength to fight for my
Mm.
life.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew God wasn't done with me yet. And I had half of San Antonio sending nothing but positive messages and thoughts and prayers, and I literally felt them. And
Mhm.
then I had the other half of San Antonio coming down on me because my wife gave an interview and told them I wasn't vaccinated, and that was it.
Oh, yeah. Game
Forget it.
on.
They
Game
came at
on.
me, and
Mhm.
Wow.
I remember this one guy. He really got under my skin, and I'm here fighting for my life, and I realized how people. I found out how cruel people can be behind a
Yes.
keyboard,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I really found out, and it hurt my heart for one, but second, I'm here fighting for my life, and this guy he says, "Hey, Cleto, all that money they helped raise for you, you should probably give it to a person that didn't ignore a family that didn't ignore science." He goes, "So if
Mm.
you die, that's on you." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, wow,
Yeah.
wow, okay, okay."
Yeah.
First of all, sir, let's get this straight. I flunked science. All right, let's get that out of the way. I flunked
Yeah.
science.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Second of all, when was science class? Was it after compassion class or was it before humanitarian class?
Mhm.
Mm.
Because the hypocrisy you're talking about right now makes no sense. You
Yeah.
care if I'm vaccinated, but you don't care if I live or die? Get out of here. I said, "Sir, does your mother know you're using her computer? Does she?"
Wow.
Yes. Yes. I tell you, I definitely, I saw that and experienced that as well. I did, like, to the core of me, I know what you're talking about, and I won't go into my story
Oh, and some of these
today, but
people thought they made the
yeah,
vaccination. They felt like some of them acted like they made the vaccines in their backyard with Windex and WD-40. And I'm
yeah,
like, are you kidding me? Like they came at me that hard. I was like,
yes,
wow. I was like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I understand why you're mad. But let's just look at the facts. I told him, I'll be honest with you. I was just scared to find out. Well, first of all, I'm diabetic and I'm fat. I got 2 strikes against me. I
yes,
said, I ain't trying to put something that's gonna end my life quick. I'm like, hold on a minute. I have to research a little bit, and
yes.
that was the worst thing I could have said.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Yeah.
moralistic high horses. People were riding around, they saddled up and they were ready to just trample on anybody who wasn't going the
uh,
same direction or doing, things the way that they were doing it. But it did
Mhm.
reveal the character of a lot of people, I think. And so yeah, but I don't know about you, but I had to spend some time in like truly like forgiving some ugly words
you
and things
you
that were
I'm
said.
become.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I found myself becoming bitter. I
Yes.
really did find myself
Yes.
becoming bitter because one, I couldn't respond back to the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
how many messages I actually tweeted back, but I had to delete because
Yes.
God said to delete them.
I know. I
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
dude. I know. Cleto, you don't know me, but like
oh,
my daddy's name is Hot Dog. Okay. I grew up in low income housing, government housing. My mama, her mother was bipolar. Like my life was crazy. I didn't live in a clean comedy family. And
no, yeah,
like,
yeah, we're almost the same. My dad's like, schizophrenic, bipolar, anxiety, the whole nine, and I got him living with me now, so I got comedy all day.
oh yeah. So during that time, you really do have to, man. It's like, whoo, you saved me from that. That's not supposed to be in my heart. But you type it, you delete it, you type it, you
Yep,
delete it.
yeah,
You go. "Ugh." What I do
Keeps
is I go
coming
tell
up. You
my,
keep pushing it
I
down.
tell my husband,
yeah,
you know what I was gonna say. You know what I would
yeah.
say. But if I didn't love Jesus, like, and then you
That
just,
right there, I had a
oh
hard time turning the other cheek,
yeah,
and my wife had to tell me, don't get on social media anymore.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I was on the news here for 9 years, and I was let go due to COVID, budget cuts, all that last March. So they were tagging me, and I'm like, okay, you're tagging me. So you want me to read this? So you better be this tall because you're gonna get on the rides. All
yes,
right. I'm just want to let you know. I
yes,
don't want any crying. When I respond back.
yes,
But you know, it's just people have. You're talking about the character that you portray, and you want to be that example
yeah,
that God wants you to be, and that's what I had a hard time with because I really felt like I couldn't defend myself like I
yes.
wanted to, and it really bothered me. And I had to really, like you said, get into prayer for. I mean, it did not just go away. It just like every
Yes.
time I heard the word vaccination, I just got so upset again,
Mhm.
and it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And it's I understand and I get it why I have friends on both sides,
Yes.
that believe and don't, and I love them dearly, all of them.
Yeah.
And it's like I was caught in between of what I was gonna do. What should I do? And I woke up and all of a sudden I was like the poster boy for vaccinations,
Mhm.
and all it was is I told people, look, um, trust me, you do not want to go through this, and you're gonna make up your own mind. You're gonna make your own decision, and that's. I'm just saying, for me, this I don't want to go through this again. It was
Yeah.
just awful. It was scary, and but for the most part, I had people just, I had I had some that were total anti-vaxxers telling me that it's not COVID. It's like allergies. I'm like, I've had allergies.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is not
Yeah, yeah,
allergies,
yeah.
Idiot.
trust me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, like, and that's when I kind of knew that there was some crazy on both sides. And
Yes.
Yes, there
but
is.
at the same time, it's like for me, it's more of not the red way or the blue way. It's God's way.
Right.
And that's just how it is with me. And
Yeah.
people either gonna, eventually they're gonna not like, it's gonna come down to where a lot of what we are learning is coming out of what the book says. And but I try to tell everybody, because at the end of the book we win. So I'm good. And the whole thing with COVID, that experience just got me back in my word, and then it got me to appreciate everything. I got to see now the blessings that were right in front of me. I was
Yeah.
thanking God for what I did have instead of what I didn't have. And that
Yeah.
right there has turned me around and got me back on track. And I don't know, you ever want to ask somebody how bitter I was or upset I was or complain about a lot? Ask
Mm.
Bone Hampton. He'll tell you that was my man.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I had, I mean, I bless his heart. He was my sounding board, because
Mm.
and
Yeah.
sometimes because he was going. I mean, we're both in the same spot in the same time, but he heard me out, and I love him for it, But it was wrong, and I realized that when I was in the hospital, and it's
Mm.
sad that it has to take something like that to make you realize.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we stray. Sometimes we stray, but he goes after that one. And
He
at that season,
does.
that time I was that one, and I'm glad he did, because he didn't give up. So
Mm. I heard you say, I wanted to defend myself, and I had to keep going back to that verse where he's like, I will fight for you. And then,
yeah, you have to say,
this
Lord,
is,
let the vengeance be yours, because I
yeah,
couldn't do it no more.
there
And
is,
that's what I said. I said, God, I give up. It's on you. You handle this. I'm gonna go back to doing punchlines and try to make the world happy. And if they don't like me because of this, well, that's their problem.
yeah.
If I
Mm.
lose, I had one lady say, I almost could hear her accent right through the text, the tweet. She goes, she goes, I was I used to be a big fan, but then all of a sudden I found out you weren't vaccinated, so you ruined it for all the raza. I go, me, me.
Yes. Yes.
Not the guy that did
Wow.
the drive-by, not the guy that robbed the bank, but me. I
Yes.
said, okay. And I remember I showed my dad that tweet, and he's like, wow, son, I didn't even know you knew all of that. I go, I didn't either. I guess so.
You have
What are
so
you gonna
much
do?
power.
Yeah, really.
Crazy.
I knew TV had a little power, but not that much. Come on.
That's crazy.
Now
Well,
you had go ahead, June.
I was just going to say, it's really, yeah, I kept thinking about what you're saying about just being content and complaining. And I've always heard that it's impossible to be both. You can't be content in what God's given you and trust him and complain at the same time,
Yes.
and it sounds like you have moved into a phase in your life where there's more contentment and more peace than what you were experiencing before you experienced such a tragic time in your life.
That's good.
Oh yeah. I am so much now at a peace that oh man, it's just um you feel foolish to think back at it and look back at it and say,
Mm.
okay, how did I wind up here? How did I wind up getting here to where all of a sudden I started realizing that I was getting away from a lot of where I was before. I mean, I noticed that I wasn't getting as many gigs
Mm.
before, and the Lord know. I mean, He's been like really booking my stuff all my career, and when the call stopped, He's like, you got to check your heart. You got to see where your
Mm.
heart's at,
Mm.
and if it's not going to be there for me, how's it going? And just going to be there just for you. And sometimes too when you go, I remember sometimes I'd have like an argument or what we call my wife and I a heated discussion. Uh,
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, what is it? Fellowship, heated fellowship. And I'm on the road now. And then I'm like at a church, and I'm like, I gotta go now and just make people laugh and oh hey, how you doing? And
Hmm.
and it's just kind of like want to do the
Yep.
gig and get back to the hotel. And there's no more ministry. There's no more relationship. There's no more wanting. You're just about yourself. And
Hmm.
for me, it really hit home. And I realized that this is something's wrong here. And then
Yeah.
it took me to get back on my face, get on my knees, and just say, you know what, Lord, let's do it your way again, not mine.
Hmm.
And that right there really kind of it took that surrender again. And I remember it's like almost. I remember when I first got baptized, I was like, I told the pastor, leave me there a little longer. I want to make sure that, you know,
Yes.
all of it's
Yes.
gone. You know,
When you stop seeing air bubbles, let me
that's
up.
right. Yeah, when you stop seeing air bubble, and then some, another 2 seconds. All right, let's make
Yeah.
sure.
Oh.
But
Okay,
yeah, but
so
the comedy, it's the comedy part is just it's been comedy now is just over. I appreciate it. There's no more hell gigs. No more hell gigs. Because when I say on stage, I'm glad to be here, that's exactly what I mean. I'm glad to be
Yes.
here.
Yes.
I'm glad to be anywhere. I remember a
Yes.
lady told me the other day at the store, it's so good to see you. I go, well, it's good to be seen. Let me just say.
Mm-hmm.
So I just take everything now. And I mean, I walk around town or walk around anywhere and I just feel like I should be like Snow White with just birds around me everywhere I go and just singing and stuff because I don't let anything phase me anymore. I really don't.
Yeah.
I well, my wife, but other than that,
Hey,
I don't let
that's
anything phase
what
me.
we're there for. You
I
know what I
really
mean? It's
don't.
the balance. We got to balance it out.
You, you,
Michelle,
you,
I
and
love
she
it.
does. She does. She really does.
so Michelle, what were you thinking? I saw the wheels turning in your head.
Well, so throughout all of that, what you were just talking about, Cleto, about, at some point you started turning bitter and then you had this life and death situation and now you're appreciating everything. I'm just curious as during that whole process from the bitterness to the thankfulness, have you written or has your comedy changed in what you're writing and how and if you have, like, how is that comedy being received?
Mm.
Well, yes, and it's true. I mean, it did affect my writing because I started out my set with "Hey, you losers," and I realized that was wrong. So actually, I know. See, this is the thing too. The hardest part for me during this whole COVID thing was not the COVID. It was the fact that my father-in-law was 2 doors down with COVID in ICU,
Mm.
and unfortunately, he didn't make it, and
Oh,
he had
sad.
passed. And because of the celebrity, the CEO of the hospital let my family come see him and say goodbye, and which I thought was really super cool. But under the circumstances, it was just kind of rough, and I felt for my wife deeply. And I remember here I was, I needed my wife with me at the darkest time of my life, and I remember just telling her, "Don't worry about me, worry about Dad," and because and she did, and I I didn't want to. I felt bad enough that I was already in the hospital and having her, to concentrate on me. She was like an emotional roller coaster. She wanted her husband to get out, but she found out her dad's not coming home,
Right.
and it just was rough for her. And I feel for her, and I felt for her a lot. And I'm the only person I had for me at that time was the janitor lady, and she came in every day, and I said, "Bring it in, lady. I need a hug today. Bring it in." I'm having a rough one. And
Mm.
I love Olga. She's a sweet lady. And
Mm.
but other than that, I think my writing, I found myself talking about stuff that I wouldn't say at a church, and then that kind of made me realize that okay, I don't want to work backwards, and I had to
Yeah.
stop and correct myself because uh, I started wanting, and this is another thing too. What it was I started wanting what the world had, if that made any sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as a comedian, you want to get to the dream, you want to get to the,
Yeah.
the sitcom, or you want to get to the Madison Square Garden and so on like that. And then and when you realize that, you start to you start to question your comedy. You start to question everything about yourself. Like, is it even I'm looking at all these other comedians while I was recovering. Sebastian Maniscalco. I was looking at all these Dave Chappelle, all these
Mhm.
guys. I'm looking at all their specials, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what am I? I'm like, and then I get on stage and I hear, oh, you're so funny, you're so funny. Okay, what do I do? Where do I go to make this? And then everything now is a is either a TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah.
And I just I just joined the TikTok world because I went to the comedy club a while back and I saw that they had all these different like people I didn't recognize, these coming acts, and I go, I don't know any of these comedians. I'm
Right.
telling the manager, and he goes, yeah, Cleto, because they're not comedians, they're TikTok and YouTube sensations. They got followings of 2 to 5 million followers, and they put butts in the seats. Like this guy here, he juggles wet cats. I said, wait a minute, you mean to tell
Yes.
me I'm at home racking my brain for a punchline, and this guy juggles wet cats and he's got a week? He goes, yeah. I go, that's it. I'm done.
Yes.
I'm going to TikTok. And then I wind up telling my boys who are 13 and 15, I said, and I've been telling them comedy all their life, telling them jokes all their life. I told them I'll be a TikTok star, and I never heard them laugh so hard in my life. I never heard them laugh so hard in my
Yes.
life. And matter of fact, I thought it was a little bit challenging and hurtful at the same
Yes.
time.
Yes. Yeah.
And now I really want to prove them wrong. So I tell everybody, if you could go like my TikTok, Cleto Rodriguez 5021, I'm trying to get to 2 million followers, and I'm at 109 right now. So I'm on my way.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, you are. You go, man.
My son told me, the 19-year-old said, if you ever get on TikTok, I'm moving out.
Yeah.
I'm getting on TikTok. Now I'm like, that's the motivation. I'm like, how is that going to stop? If anything, that's motivation. To get
See, what I'm hearing is
June,
I need two more
June, write that
water.
down. Write that down. Because if you were a comedian, I would have said, oh, I'm taking that one. That was funny.
Yeah, it's mine. It's mine.
You got to write it. Write it down. My kids, my daughter, the 21-year-old, told me yesterday in my face, Dad, stop doing TikToks. What?
Yeah.
They're not funny.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And she showed me her TikToks that she laughs at. Now I know why she thinks I'm not funny. Her stuff is not funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have a warped sense of humor. It's like she's laughing at a lady in a Mustang. Yeah, she's in a Mustang, Dad. That's funny. I go, no, it's not. There's no joke. There's no nothing.
Yes.
She goes, she's just getting in a Mustang. That's funny. Oh, it's funny, Dad. I'm like, no, it's not.
You know what I think will be interesting is to see, though. I know of a couple of TikTok stars. They do get the butt in the seat, right, at some of the clubs, and then it's awful because they're not stand-ups. You know, they can edit and make these funny videos. And then some really they can pull it off, but for the most part, it's a one and done. People go and see them, and then they're like, oh, well, they were they were funny on the video, but when you actually have to stand up and the rubber meets the road, and you're on that stage for 45 minutes, and all you've ever done is a 5-second video getting in a Mustang or juggling a cat. Sometimes it's. But I've never owned a club, but I'm guessing when the ticket sales, they don't care. Like they sold.
Yeah, and then you find yourself, okay, what's compromise now?
Yeah,
because everywhere I turn around, it's like I remember. I even got to the point where I looked at TV so much, and I said, I really don't care to do a sitcom in LA anymore. I really don't. I could do it here. Yeah. I could put on my own YouTube channel. I could do whatever I want and do it my way, and it just let people know, hey, it's over here. And if anybody wants to pick it up, by all means, that's great. But now I'm just kind of like, everything just takes that effort, and because TikToks, to be a star, you got to do 3 or 4 of these things a day. You know how much work that is? I turned 51 years old this year. I'm not got that kind of time where I'm over here, got, my knees hurt. I'm like, I'm losing hair. I'm like, come on.
Rick Roberts, I remember one time hearing him say, like if you're doing that, okay, so let's say you transition to doing all this TikTok stuff. He said that time comes from something else.
Yeah.
So what are you taking from? What are you giving up that you're now, dedicating to this TikTok time? And then last night, my husband and I actually watched a documentary on becoming fake famous and all these bots that they purchase and like fake likes and all of this stuff. But like these social media platforms, they don't call it out because they're making money off of it too, because people are buying this. It's the crazy. When I watched it,
what's that called? It's called Fake Famous?
I think it's called Fake Famous. It's on HBO Max. You have to.
I gotta go check that out.
Will be blown.
It's called Fake Famous, the Michele VanDusen story.
It
I think
is.
that's how you look it up.
It was pretty crazy, though. It was pretty
Well, I can't wait till part 2. Fake famous Cleto Rodriguez live. Or
yeah,
is
no,
it?
it is. Or is it even Cleto? We don't
Is it
know.
even Cleto? Yeah.
Well, Cleto,
It had to be Cleto.
we are so happy that you came on and joined us today. I'm going to have Michele scroll across your social media platforms. Friends, you definitely got to check out Cleto. It's Cleto, CletoRodriguez, CletoRodriguez.com. So you want to check him out on there. And then social media platforms, Facebook is Cleto Rodriguez page, and Twitter and Instagram is Cleto Rodriguez, and YouTube, Cleto Rodriguez Comedy. So definitely check out Cleto and all the amazing stuff that he's got going on his social media platforms. It has been absolutely an honor and a pleasure to have you on our show today. Michele, what do you think?
Yes. I think that was fantastic, because you were able to bring us from a happy place to a dark place to a happy place again, and
Yes.
that's really
Yeah, I didn't
but
really plan on going to the dark place. I really didn't plan on
No,
that. It
but
just somehow.
But that's the thing,
Michele
like,
lives
that's where
the
comedy
dark
comes
side.
from. But
Yeah.
that's where it comes from,
That's
like, some of
true.
the best laughter and the best joy happens when you can acknowledge what's happening to you,
Mhm.
and then how can you turn your viewpoint around, go, okay, I see that, what about this, and just that
Mhm.
whole it's just what do they say, it's tragedy in time is comedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
So
Pain is comedy.
It is.
yeah,
It is.
so thank
And
you
it's
for
an
being
emotion
mindful.
for sure people can relate to. That's an emotion we can all relate to. So, well, Cleto, Michele's going to kick you back to the green room for a few minutes. Don't leave us so
Kick
we
you
can
back.
tell you a proper
Yeah, don't leave.
goodbye. And we're going to close
Okay.
this one
Sounds
out.
good. All right.
All right. So, it's just you and I now. What?
It's just us. It's just us. And this time you kicked him out. He didn't just leave us randomly. So that's
I
always
know.
good.
And I cut him off. He was saying goodbye or something. I don't know. I think he said adios, amigos.
Is that what he said? Oh, I should have showed off
No.
my Spanish. You remember in Mexico when I told the guy uno
Yes,
momento and my son
taco.
lost his mind? Yeah. What are you saying uno momento for, Mom? Sorry, that's my son's. He doesn't sound like that at all, but in my brain, that's what he sounds like. Well, listen, this was the best ever. I'm so happy that Cleto joined us today. Michele, you always
It was
have
really
such
good.
good comedy friends. So this has
I
been a
have
good
great
one.
friends.
You too.
I'm just
You
glad
too.
that they're all
You-
very, very funny.
You do have you have amazing friends. All right. So this friend is going to close this episode out. As I always tell you, Jesus and Junebug loves you. Michele, tell them goodbye.
Goodbye, Michele. No, I just want to say, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate you, and we're loving you through laughter. Have a